What's going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice. Guys, the Colts lose yet again. Another draining, just gut-punching loss in a way that we Colts fans just know all too much of. And this season has just been the same of the same all year long. Defense trying to keep this team in the game. Offensively, just not getting any execution from their players. And we're stuck in the same situation. So let's just kind of talk about this here for a second, guys. So the Colts did lose to the Pittsburgh Steelers 24-17. Again, the Indianapolis Colts not scoring 20 points in a game. Looking at it from this perspective, Matt Ryan, 22 of 34 for 200 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, was sacked 3 times. Now, if you were to look at what that was in the first half, Matt Ryan was 5 of 13 in the first half. So in the second half, he was 17 of 21. So he did much, much better in the second half of being a lot more accurate. But even then, still, again, just what we're seeing out of Matt Ryan, guys, it's just not going to get the job done. Matt Ryan, losing the football, Matt Ryan taking unnecessary sacks, Matt Ryan incapable of throwing the football deep down the field. And that is causing a lot of these wide receiver issues. I know that a lot of people have been talking about how the receivers get no separation. Well, the problem you have with that is you have to think about why they're not getting separation. Well, I think the majority of the problem is that teams know Matt Ryan can't throw the ball 30 plus yards down the field. And when you're throwing 95% of your passes within 10 or 15 yards of the line of scrimmage, you don't need to play deep as a secondary to come in. And so these corners are getting better jumps on these receivers because they're playing more tight coverage. They know that the timing is late with Matt Ryan. Sometimes he's inaccurate. Sometimes he's late on the timing. Sometimes there's no velocity on his throws. And that's just how it is when it comes to this team right now. And they know they're not going to throw the ball deep, so everything is in front of them. So that's why it's making it really difficult for these wide receivers to get open. And on top of it, the game planning for this team has been atrocious. I didn't think there was no creativity in this offense today. I just don't know what to really say about it. I mean, the funny thing is just the fact that the Colts ran the ball today very effectively. You ran the ball 20 times with Jonathan Taylor for 86 yards. So it was averaging almost 4.5 yards per carry. Now, most of that came in the second half. Jonathan Taylor in the first half ran for 6 rushes for only 34 yards. So most of that came in the second half. The Colts should have been more efficient at running the football in this game. I know it was 20 carries, but at the end of the day, though, it still just wasn't enough. It was doing better than what it was advertising. And I think the problem was the Colts were running in obvious running situations for them. They became too predictable. And so that was what this offense was today, was just predictable. Matt Ryan couldn't make throws, wide receivers dropping it. Receivers not able to get open because of how our quarterback is playing. Our offensive line wasn't great today. A couple times that they forced Matt Ryan to step up into the pocket when he didn't want to, and therefore wasn't able to make the throws that he was supposed to make. And then, of course, Jonathan Taylor fumbling the football at the 1-yard line. Unnecessary turnovers, especially early in the game by Matt Ryan, and inability to move the chains. It was just another first offense of guys just not doing their jobs. Now, shout out to Jelani Woods, who did have his best game of his career, 8 receptions for 98 yards, only dropped 1 pass. All the rest of his passes were all catches. Best day for him this season. Michael Pittman had a halfway decent game, 7 catches for 61 yards and 1 touchdown. Still not enough offensive production out of him, though. You expect more from someone like him. And then on top of it, I mean, when you're looking at the rest of the stats, Campbell only had 2 catches. Mo only had 2 catches. Pierce never got anything. So again, just inability to get the ball to our wide receivers. And that's a problem. And that's going to be remaining a problem for the remainder of this year. And it's going to be something that this team needs to address moving forward. They need better offensive linemen. They need a quarterback of the future to take control of this team. They need a wide receiver that is going to take charge and how this offense gets moving. Now, to the defensive side of things, guys, I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, I thought that the defense did okay. There were times at the end of the game where they were struggling, but again, Kenny Pickett, 20 of 28 for 174 yards. He was sacked 3 times. Yannick Ngakoue had 2 sacks on the day. So shout out to Yannick Ngakoue on that performance, especially early. Early on in the game, the Colts defense was really doing a fantastic job. They were putting a lot of bad situations by the Indianapolis Colts offense, and were on the field for, I think, almost triple the time that Indianapolis offense was. So, they were on the field so much, and they were gassed by the end of that. And I'm sure at the end of the game, they were probably really gassed because that offense wasn't staying on the field long enough for that defense to get a breath. But when you look at it, again, they did a good job of keeping him under 200 yards. I mean, it is what it is there. He didn't have a touchdown, so you can't really say much. At the end of the day, though, I mean, the Colts didn't do a great job of stopping the run. You had 3 different guys that averaged over 5 yards a carry for Pittsburgh. Anthony McFarland averaged 5 yards a carry. Kenny Pickett averaged 5.3 yards a carry. Benny Snell averaged 5.2 per carry. Najee was averaging 3.5 before he went down. So, this team in general ended up accumulating over 150 yards of rushing. That's just not good enough if you want to stop Pittsburgh. You should have been able to stop that, because that was the thing that the Colts defense needed to do better. And I mean, overall, nobody on the receiving core for Pittsburgh really killed us. But again, a couple of easy plays that Pickens and Freiermuth made that moved the chains. And it's just one of those things that, you can't have that continue to happen. And of course, again, like I said before, the fumbles, you can't have those. Shout out to, Yannick Ngakoue, like I said, and a few other guys that really tried to step up. But overall, guys, this is just a very plain, very, very bad performance. It sucks that we're at that situation right now where, this team continues to just lack execution. That we just lack execution. And it sucked because in the third quarter, when you're down 16-3, Dallas Flowers takes that 89 yards to the 19-yard line. You score a touchdown, you get a 3-and-out, you score a touchdown again. This team is right back in it. This team was in it. This team was ready to win it. And sure enough, you dropped the bag a couple times. If you didn't mess up a few of these times, then this team has a completely different outlook. This team just lacks execution, guys. That's the biggest thing about it. And that's just going to be our downfall this year. Hopefully, whatever happens later on, this execution of this team starts getting better, because regardless of who you bring in this over the offseason and into the draft, I mean, it's just not going to hurt. It's not going to help you much at the end of the day if your guys that are playing right now are not executing at a better level than what they are, especially offensively. That's going to do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts on this. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And as always, go Colts.